Story 1. My dad always said he felt like he would die from something ridiculous and stupidly embarrassing. I have always felt the same way. In January of 2021, my dad was 69, and nobody in his bloodline had ever reached 70, so he was getting paranoid about it. He started showing early signs of Alzheimer's, and since his perfect memory was a great asset of his, it drove him crazy. He would lose his temper badly over small things. One night after work, I brought him dinner. I found him in his room, lifeless with a giant pile of sweatpants at his feet. He had died of a massive heart attack, likely due to the fact that he could not get his pants on and got frustrated. It breaks my heart even after 3 years because he was such a great person and an even better father. Today would have been his 73rd birthday. Story 2. On my 100th birthday, I will lie on my sofa, pull a throw blanket over me and say, "Enough." I will then fade away, the blanket falling to the sofa, empty. For context, I am a leap kid, so my 100th birthday will be 400 years old. Story 3. Let me die a young man's death. Not a clean and in-between. The sheets holy water death. Not a famous last words. Peaceful out-of-breath death. When I'm 73, and in constant good humor, may I be mown down at dawn by a bright red sports car, on my way home from an all-night party, or when I'm 91, with silver hair, and sitting in a barber's chair. May rival gangsters, with ham-fisted Tommy guns burst in, and give me a short back and insides, or when I'm 104, and banned from the cavern. May my mistress, catching me in bed with her daughter, and fearing for her son, cut me up into little pieces, and throw away every piece but one. Let me die a young man's death, not a free from sin tiptoe in, candle wax and waning death, not a curtains drawn by angels born. What a nice way to go, death. Roger McGough. Story 4, hopefully quick. I don't want to suffer. I was a former medic and emergency room registered nurse. I told my wife if it's a traumatic brain injury, pull the plug. If I'm in a random coma, give me a couple of weeks, otherwise call it. The worst thing we do, especially in the United States, is show more compassion to animals than we do to humans. Story 5. I have been on the death watch for a year now with pancreatic cancer. For a while, I was a frequent flyer to the emergency room, and every time I went, I figured that was it. But as my doctor says, I am a very tough lady, and somehow I keep on functioning, although at a lower and lower level. I am not willing to go on if I am too decrepit, so I am signed on for medically assisted dying, the do-it-yourself way. I suspect I will do it myself within the next few months. Story 6. Statistics suggest heart problems or cancer, but if I had to choose, I'd pick a heroin overdose. Not that I want to be an addict, but I'd love to be 95 years old, surrounded by my family in the hospice center, and just feeling the world's most outstanding sensation right before I slip away. Story 7. I will be driving and get a flat tire. I will get out to fix the tire and a semi-truck will buzz by me super close. I will jump a little and trip over the tire iron. It will send me over the railing and into the river. I will be rescued by a father and son on a fishing trip, but I would have already begun showing signs of hypothermia. They will take me to the hospital. I will end up dying in that hospital, but not for another 28 years due to complications from heart surgery. Story 8. Hopefully heart failure while asleep in 40-ish years. Just don't want to be awake when it happens, as I already have terrible anxiety when it comes to any disease or bodily harm. Story 9. If nothing ends me before my natural time, then I'll suppose I'll be alone and afraid at first until my body realizes that I am actually dying. At that point, my brain will release dimethyltryptamine, which is the strongest natural psychedelic. There are mushrooms and even some frogs that people in pharmacies use to extract it. When my brain releases it, I won't be afraid anymore, but my head won't be clear, so whatever my last words are, they won't account for anything. In a word, I'll die stoned, just as most people do. Regarding dying alone, perhaps I won't be physically alone, but that experience is so intense that everyone goes through it alone in one way or another. Maybe I'll get hit by a bus or a car, in which case I suppose I will not be aware of anything. Instant pitch black. In some bizarre case, if I end up somewhere hopeless, struggling slowly to die. I hope I'll be able to end it myself or have someone help me do it. Considering that I'm thinking about this for the first time and writing about it in my second language, I think I've covered it very well. Feels better not to be in doubt and afraid. It's as natural a thing as being born. So die well and in bliss, my unknown friends. Story 10. I have struggled with depression and anxiety for 20 years. I am fortunate to have access to great care in the United States, but it has been such a long road. My doctors finally settled on cyclothymia with major depressive disorder. I found some medications that really help, so I am thankful, but I can feel that part of me at random moments. And if I miss medications, my symptoms are so much worse. After learning more about my diagnosis, I discovered that the suicide rates for people with serious mood disorders are much higher than average, with about 85% attempting at some point. I am not ethically opposed to that if you are in pain, but I would love not to have to think about how I will most likely kill myself if my condition gets worse or my medications stop working. Get help, friends, if you are having dark moments or intrusive thoughts. It is not something you can ignore or power through. Story 11. If you had asked me this question last year, I would have said alcohol death. But now that I'm fully sober, I think I'll die as an old lady with pneumonia like all my family members who didn't die of alcoholism young. Story 12. I know this is odd, but I'm not sure how I will die. I am sure it will be when I'm 70. I got a concussion in 2022, and when I came to, that's what I was completely sure of. That's 7 years. Story 13. On average, 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will get cancer at some point in their lifetime in the United States. Live your life to the best of your ability, folks. It's short and can end at the drop of a pin. Story 14. If it isn't by trauma or cancer, it will be congestive heart failure as a result of complications from cardio-obstructive pulmonary disorder. It's sort of written in stone for me. In fact, I didn't expect to make it past 55 and I'm still kicking 11 years later, so you never know. But yeah, probably heart failure from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Story 15. I'm always putting myself at risk by not paying attention to dangerous situations. So, I will probably end up getting hit by a car or falling from somewhere high. Laugh out loud. Story 16. Given my tendency to choke on random bits of food, I'm pretty sure I'll choke to death. Not the nicest way to go, although I'm sure there are worse. There's a cheery thought. Story 17. I don't know. I feel rather immortal and I'm not bragging. I've been nearly murdered, had health complications, been in weird accidents, and here I am somehow. I'd like to grow old. It would be a huge honor. But I definitely don't want to live forever. That would be tediously dull. Story 18. Statistically, heart attack, the leading cause of firefighter casualties, or job-related cancer. Firefighters are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop certain types of cancer due to workplace exposure. Story 19. Probably some heart-related thing like all the men in my family. Assuming I don't get myself killed doing something stupid and really fun. Story 20. Иногда я испытываю сильное чувство того, что прямо сейчас я умру, ко мне подойдет человек и убьет меня или собьет машина. Проблема в том, что это происходит во время повседневных дел, где нет никаких поводов беспокоиться о безопасности. Чувство настолько сильное, что я искренне в это верю и начинаю сильно волноваться и думать о том, что я вижу свое будущее через 5 минут или пару лет. Story 21. Likely from Alzheimer's disease. It runs in both sides of my family. My paternal grandfather and my maternal great-grandmother had it. Currently, my maternal grandmother has been diagnosed with it. If I die some other way, it's going to be a shocker. Story 22. Saving a school bus full of children, each of whom was holding kittens and puppies, from an exploding bridge that was collapsing into a 100 million-foot ravine with my superpowers. Story 23. Doing something reckless probably. Climbing some cliff free solo, hiking above the tree line in a storm, driving too fast on a twisty mountain road, taking a selfie with a bear. Some dumb actions. Story 24. Heart failure. In the end, all forms of death can be technically classified as heart failure. I think I just accidentally quoted Robert Heinlein, which counts as a happy accident to me. Story 25. sad, alone, and with great fear of the truly unknown. Edit. I would like to add that this seems like the most plausible experience I will have, especially considering I recently overdosed on October 18th, and it was the first time I knew with 100% confidence that if I had shut my eyes that night, I would already be dead. It was kind of terrifying. I felt myself fading into what I knew would be the last void I ever experience, and as my life flashed in front of me, all I could think was, this is it? This is all my life will be? Nothing but suffering and failed coping mechanisms? That's so disappointing. Story 26. My heart is literally a ticking time bomb. I have about 2 years left with this mechanical valve. When it decides to stop working, that's it for me. I have a do not resuscitate order, and my body can't undergo another heart surgery. Story 27. Either heart disease or Alzheimer's, according to a genetic test that I took with 23andMe. One thing is for sure, I shall not live a long life with my genes. Story 28. With the assumption I won't get shot, stabbed, or in a car wreck in the next couple of years, I know for an absolute fact I'm going to die of a ruptured internal carotid artery aneurysm. The only doubt is if one of the other things gets me first before I turn 30 in a few years. Before anyone says it is fixable, there's important context. I live in America. Story 29. Probably by being sarcastic to the wrong person at the wrong time. I think a lot about the lady who got stabbed after asking, "What are you going to do? Stab me?" Story 30. Suicide. My dad killed himself when I was 10, which has kind of made death a valid option to solve major problems. I've attempted it many times and still suffer from suicidal ideation alongside other mental illnesses. I just feel eventually I won't be able to fight it anymore and just... Yeah, for now though, it's only a thought. I call it being passively suicidal. Luckily, I've got a decent support network who keep me grounded. On a more positive note, my dad also gave me the genetics for a cracking level of facial hair, so swings and roundabouts. Story 31. Ben Shapiro will finally find me, the man who has been calling him a bitch regularly since 2016. I can't predict his finishing move, but he seems like a creatively vindictive human being. Story 32. I'm a Ukrainian, and seeing how our country lacks support from the United States and Europe, it's more and more likely for me to die at the hands of the invaders, I'm afraid. And as a woman, it won't be easy. We didn't receive enough support when it was needed, and our own capacity was limited, even when we did everything we could on our own. Our military personnel are incredibly strong and intelligent people. So here we are. Story 33. My genetics are not in my favor, so probably with dementia, cancer, or heart disease. Honestly, if I get diagnosed with early onset dementia like my grandma did, I will kill myself. I'd rather go any way but that. Story 34. If it is not by my own hand, I will likely get taken out by a heart attack. High blood pressure runs in the bloodline along with strokes and heart attacks. Story 35. Of old age, as one of the oldest people to ever live, I hate life in every imaginable way. I am too weak to take my own life, and God laughs at this fact. I will outlive everyone I love, and once I'm truly alone, I will be allowed to die. Story 36. Unexpectedly, in a situation that isn't even that dangerous, I can have and do have seizures. So, I may be chopping up some vegetables one day, have a seizure, and land on the knife as I fall. Let's hope not. I would rather have a meteor smash me into oblivion. Story 37. I'm not planning on relapsing, but I have borderline personality disorder and am extremely impulsive whenever I'm upset. So, probably another overdose or something with my epilepsy. Sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, maybe. Story 38. Knowing that I get sick every other week, have horrible pain in every inch of my body, am allergic to most vegetables and some fruits, and can't survive without pills, on a roller coaster with 5 of my choir friends on September 14th, obviously. Story 39. Mom died of cardiac arrest. My paternal grandmother died of the same thing. My heart will likely give out. They were both pretty young. I'm only 4 years younger than my mom when she died. Story 40. Easy one here. Cancer. Just need to figure out if I let it take me quickly or fight and let it take me less quickly. As long as I get pain drugs, I'm good either way, really. Story 41. Definitely cancer. I'm gonna collect them like a bingo card. I've worked 2 different construction jobs, auto body and detailing. I've probably breathed in stuff I most certainly should not breathe in. And if it isn't a respiratory cancer, it'll be skin cancer from too much sun exposure without sunscreen. Story 42. I know how I'm gonna die already. Unfortunately, I cannot post why on here because I am sure it would get thrown out by Reddit or something. Just because that did happen to me in another subreddit when I wrote a 2-sentence horror story about my fears involving this and they blocked it, saying that it is a real event and not fiction. Story 43. I think I will die in either a car crash or airplane crash. I am very healthy, and those are the 2 most risky activities that I do. I just hope it is instant. Story 44. I've had a few dreams that are pretty much the same, but I'm a different age every time, and it's been happening since I was young. I've been having a dream where I'm walking out of school and someone stabs me in the back. I start coughing up blood, crying blood, and blood starts pouring out of my ears. Everyone around me just stares at me with a very dead look in their eyes, but their eyes are wide open like some sort of horror movie. Story 45. I would like to say taking a nuclear weapon to the chest that I redirected away from a large city, killing a terrorist army in the process, but probably heart failure in my 30s. Story 46. Probably in some sort of crash. I ride dirt bikes and motorcycles, jet skis, that kind of stuff, and I snowboard and ride BMX and such. Or in a fire or something maybe. I'm gonna go into the fire academy once I graduate school. Honestly, if I go out like that, I won't be mad about it. At least I'll be having fun or saving people, doing what I like to do.